So first step, always spend less time with toxic friends or also social media, right? Like distracting yourself, making yourself dumber and dumber, chasing for the next dopamine shot, right? Social media, YouTube videos, TV shows, movies, doing less of that. I think this video is probably one of the most important videos I've done on this channel, and it's not only important for your journey as a poker player, but I'm going to talk about things that I think most of you guys are not really aware of, what is happening, and I will talk about that. And it's not only important for your poker journey, but also very important for everything else that you do that might be business related or relationships or self-growth or spirituality or sports or fitness, whatever it is. And of course, I don't know you personally, but I want to talk to you directly here, and I want to be straightforward and honest, and I will share everything the way I feel and the way I think about it without any filters. My goal is not to, become friends with you, and I want to make you think and eventually change your perspective. As you might know, there's advice everywhere, there's content everywhere, and don't just mirror it onto poker. You can mirror it onto everything, whether it's fitness, nutrition, whether it's business advice, whether it's marketing advice. It's everywhere. And the self-help gurus are all over the place. Everyone advises you to do more, to study more, to work more, to look better. And the question is, how far should we go? And how many videos, books, courses do we need to consume until we have reached a level to put all the knowledge into practice? So you don't need to ask someone how to change. You know exactly what to do, and at least that can get you started. What most people are doing is just procrastinate. Asking advice is good when it's a specific question that really helps you with a specific problem that you don't find a solution for. But if you eat fast food all the time and you consume junk and then asking someone how to change, well, then you're just procrastinating because you know exactly what's the problem. And I think the same is for poker, how to tilt less. Like, people ask me, hey Ben, I'm spewing off my money all the time. What am I supposed to do? Well, if you do that for the last 5 years and you've lost 50K, well, you know what to do. You need to stop and seek professional help. I'm not a doctor. I mean, most of these people have a gambling problem, but they simply don't want to admit it. Let's be honest, what most of you guys are doing, let's ask Ben, let's ask this guy, and you just keep procrastinating. And then what happens is like, oh, he says a different strategy, but I read something else, and he says something else, and he says something else. There's probably more strategies, so let's also ask someone else to get more data to make a really good decision, right? But that's bullshit. You just keep procrastinating, and at some point you get so confused that you don't start in the first place. And the way I'm doing it is, if I'm interested in something, I read one book. I read one book about this topic, and that's it. And then I try to learn from it. And if I think, oh, there might be more, then I learn another book. I'm not jumping from author to author, from content producer to content producer. If currently I was working with my Freeletic apps for like 3 years, then I felt like I need a little bit of change. So I started looking for some other for some more input for fitness, and I found this channel from Sasha Huber. And then I stick with it. I do his workouts, and that's it. I don't listen to anything else. Of course, if I feel like, okay, I need something, and then I execute on that. You should always, and that's very important because most of you are going to take it the wrong way, still have an open mind, right? If you come across something else that you think is worth trying out, then try it. So there's always a balance. I'm not saying never listen to anyone else's advice and say, okay, now this guy is the god and whatever he says. No, you should still remain very open. But when it comes to your action plan, you should try to focus on one piece of content. You should focus on one book for a specific topic, maybe a second or third. But it sometimes gets to the extreme where I think like, what the fuck? The first step is always to stay away from the shit that takes you away so much away from reaching your goals. What do we do when we're overweight? We should stop eating more of the stuff that is making us fat, right? If we feel like, we feel drained, or we don't have a lot of energy, and we spend a lot of times with friends that are trying to talk us out of our dreams, or they make fun of us, what's the solution? Spend less time with them. And very often it's exactly that. So when you study poker and you feel like you can't focus or you can't maintain a high level of focus, well, I'm pretty sure if I would look into your life, you're doing something that destroys your focus, whether it's bad sleep, whether it's shit food, whether it's toxic people, whether it's consuming whatever that just, makes you feel empty. And so first step, always spend less time with toxic friends, or also social media, right? Like distracting yourself, making yourself dumber and dumber, chasing for the next dopamine shot, right? Social media, YouTube videos, TV shows, movies, doing less of that. Reading less news, watching less news, taking drugs, stop smoking less cigarettes, less gossip, less hating, less trolling, eating less bullshit, playing less video games, unless you're a pro or you intend to become a pro. So basically all the activities you do out of boredom or because you're addicted to the dopamine kick, and of course some of the stuff you can do, and I remember I recommend watching the video that I did, why people can't success in poker, where I talk about this more in depth, about the dopamine kick and why most people can't really focus anymore. And of course, sometimes you can do that for pleasure times, right? And it's that kind of relationship that if you want to say, hey, on Saturday I'm going to take a day off and I'm just going to be eating donuts and watch TV shows, that's great, man. Like, I'm very thrilled for you. But most of the time, or a lot of the time, people do it because they're bored. They have nothing better to do. It's like, all right, then I come for work and all right, let's watch some TV. And that's the relationship to these kind of activities that you don't want to have. I think the video was called Why the Average Person Can't Win in Poker. And let me show you something. It's very simple, right? So let's assume up here is the goal you want to reach, whatever it is, or your dream, your wishes. Let's say this is where we all start. So this is like the baseline is, let's assume everyone has starts with the same level of skill, the same environment, same conditions. Of course, it's not true, but just for simplification, it's totally sufficient. So, and then of course, we always have a limited amount of willpower effort that we can put on a daily basis. At some point, we're exhausted. At some point, we need a break. So, if you would start here above this line, it would mean that you basically start with, you have your life pretty much under control. Let's assume that is for poker, that you have stable relationships, you have a stable financial situation, you're not very dependent on the results. If you win some money, great. If not, it's not going to be rock bottom for you. So you have this distance to take to work your way up here to reach your goal, whether it's a poker related or whatever. We can mirror this on so many different goals. So, but the problem is, most people don't start here. They start here because they are mentally so, I have to be careful with the words I'm choosing here, but they're mentally so backwards evolved, if that is even a word, but it's just they're getting dumber and dumber with consuming all that shit like news, gossip, TV shows, and they have a hard time focusing on studying. And then also when they study, then they jump onto watching TV shows. So basically what they've studied, they just put some other garbage on top of it, or spend time with toxic friends, or they just then do something else that kind of harms the effects of what they just studied, and it's not really going to stick around. Or they're in a very poor mental situation or health situation, maybe overweight, or they have some issues in their relationship, so they're emotionally a bit unstable. It doesn't matter, like poor sleep, everything that impacts our performance, right? So then you might start here. And of course, then the distance to reach your goal is much higher as if you would start here, right? So you have to put in actually way more effort, because you're not going to be studying so effectively, you're not going to be studying so efficiently, right? You need to study, you need to invest more time to learn the same as someone that would start here, right? So what is the first step to get to here? It's not like learning super fancy strategies, taking a course, or attending a webinar. It's about doing less of the shit that is holding you back, right? So there are like 4 or 5 things that you need to do, whether it's diet, whether it's your sleep, that you can fix with, incorporating sleep routines. Of course, you also need to educate yourself, and it's a few things that you need to learn about sleep, like the right temperature, dark, waking up at the same time, going to bed at the same time, not eating 5 Big Macs before you go to bed. So you learn a few principles, and then you can all incorporate them. But you don't need to read 100 fucking books about sleep, right? It takes half an hour. You can watch a YouTube video or read a book, get in some input, and then execute on that. It can happen within 1 day. Same with diet. If you follow some very, very simple principles, cut out the fast food, cut out the sugary drinks, you will get 80% of the results. Takes you half an hour. You can execute on that. You don't need to read another 100 books on the perfect diet, or watch 10 different YouTube videos on what diet works the best. Start with one, and these principles apply to every diet. Not eating fast food, not drinking sugary stuff all the time, not eating ice cream, and then working out 3 or 4 times a week. This will bring you already 70-80% of the results. And then, of course, if you want to dive deeper, you can add some supplements or whatever. But the supplements are not giving you the results, right? Cutting out friends, toxic friends, and then you start here. And once you're here, then you can focus more. Okay, now let's learn more about the strategies. Let's learn more about maybe marketing tools when we talk about business, and then only then I would start, right? But the first step, and the first probably weeks or maybe some months, it's all about training yourself healthy habits. That is the goal for the first period of time. And then it's going to be so much easier. And some people, they start here. They start even here. But the problem is we can't stretch the effort we put in to infinity, right? For some people, it's they have a bit more willpower, and they can, are a little bit more resilient, and others are not. But yeah, you can tweak it by a little bit, but usually, and this also takes some time, but when you start, you can't just say, okay, now I'm going to have insane amount of willpower every day. No, actually, when you start trying to change something, when you start getting rid of toxic habits and you try to implement healthy ones, usually it takes some time, right? Some people, they can put that much effort, some people only that, and some people like this. Of course, it depends on the conditions, right? But when you start here, then it's a fucking long way. Why would you do that? And the problem is, it takes you even longer because all these bad habits are keep holding you back. Some people could maybe make it, but it comes with such an effort. Instead, you might be on a plateau. You don't see any results at the beginning because you're fixing all the shit that is holding you back, but then it goes much faster, right? Okay, in reality, it never looks like this. You have some ups and downs, blah, 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 and goes like this. But you're still going to be faster here than path number 2, right? So you have to make the decision for yourself. Where do you want to start? And when you run a race, I want to try to start in the first position. And even if it takes a couple of months of better preparation. So think about that. Think about that in that way. Whatever you're trying to accomplish in business, poker, personal life, even if I want to learn something, if I feel like right now, fuck, I can't concentrate for 20 minutes. All right, let's work on that. Let's maybe look into what am I just spending too much time on social media, and it makes me so quickly distracted from my work at hand. And then I spend 1 or 2 weeks trying to build a new habit, spending less time on social media, incorporating some triggers or some routines. And then I start learning my stuff, right? So then I start from here and not from here where most people want to start. And that's actually where most people start when they play poker. They have a shit ton of debt. They have problems in their relationships. They're on a poor diet, poor health. And then they want to reach here, right? And this doesn't have to be the very top, just maybe building a little side income. And then they wonder, even though they put in all the work, that they can't make it. And I have to say, man, I should have probably become an artist. This looks so beautiful. But you get my point, right? Same when people ask me, Ben, should I buy the course? Listen, all I can do is I put a YouTube video online where I describe what you can expect, the requirements, and I cannot tell you whether the course is for you. Usually when people ask me, Ben, is the course something for me? I would say, no, it's not. But the problem is I don't want to be a douchebag. Because then people always think, oh yeah, what an asshole. He thinks I'm not good enough. What does he think? He's something better. So I'm always trying to put it in nicer words. And I'm usually saying, well, I literally, I can't tell you. Because I don't know what situation you're currently in. If you're not in debt, if you're financially stable, and you're emotionally stable, if you're in a good physical shape, then go for it. And listen, it doesn't need to be perfect. You doesn't need to be a big bodybuilder. But for most people, it should not affect your performance. If you can't concentrate or you have some health issues, then it's just going to be very hard to achieve something to master poker. And I think if you want to make a little side income, or if you want to become pro and you want to reach the top, I consider this already mastering poker, right? At this point where you can make a living out of it and withdraw money on a monthly basis. And most people don't make it because they start somewhere here. So it's like, if you want to go on 100 meter track and you start 20 meters behind, and then you're trying to catch up with everyone else, it's stupid. It's just super inefficient. And I understand that educating yourself or reading a book or taking a course makes you feel good, but unless you apply it, you haven't made any step closer to your goal. So then once you start and you're consuming content, you need to make sure that you also take action on that. And unfortunately, and listen, I saw an ad from Tai Lopez where he was advertising, the average CEO, he reads 365 books a year or something like that, or 50 books a year. I don't even know. That's bullshit, because that's exactly where it goes. You have to read more, do more, consume more. And if you then you read the summary of the book, you see all the facts, then you jump into the next book. And you have consumed, it's consuming. It's like, it's not learning. It's not at all, right? It could be a good tool. Like, I'm not saying it's bad if you approach it the right way, if you're aware of it. Let's say you come across something interesting, then that you do further research and you try to implement in whatever you try to achieve, right? But most people just go through it. Oh, amazing. I've consumed 40 books in 2019. Awesome. I'm telling you, you learn 10 times more by applying the shit than reading it. Like with Raise Your Edge, building a business, especially at the beginning, and we've failed with many projects, I've learned more than in my master, my bachelor studies. And I also started my master, but then I stopped. And listen, of course you should have a plan. I'm not advising here just get a few facts and just jump blindly into an endeavor. Actually, then sitting down, making a plan, answering some crucial questions is already executing it. You start building from step to step or little by little, right? But in order to make that plan, you don't need to read 100 books, right? And also the plan it doesn't need to cover everything. It just needs to cover the first steps, and then you adjust adjust along the lines, and then you come back, you revisit the plan, and then maybe you make adjustments. A plan can always be flexible. I feel like most people think the plan has to be carved in stone, but that's actually not true. So let's just quickly summarize. If you currently try to make progress in something, whether it is business, poker, self, blah, 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 we already talked about that, and you haven't seen the desired outcome, or it comes with an enormous amount of effort and you feel like this shit can't last forever, like I'm draining, I feel like I get burned out, or you have a hard time motivating yourself, then I'm going to share a couple of tips here. So first of all, sit the fuck down and make a list of all the activities that are holding you back. From meeting toxic people, watching TV, movies, social media, playing video games, watching porn, eating bullshit, consuming alcohol, consuming cigarettes, drugs, any kind of activity that clouds your mind, distracts you from what is important to you, and also reduces your ability to work effectively. If you have the option, go somewhere for a day or two, isolate yourself and ask yourself what you want and what is holding you back. It's that simple. This will generate you 80% of the results. Then don't go hardcore in, like, especially the more bad stuff you're doing and the more bad the bad habits you have. Don't try to eradicate every bad routine at once. Don't go hardcore in. Start with 1 or 2 activities for a week. Maybe cut out watching TV on certain days instead of watching every day. Maybe just start with like 2 days for the first week, next week 4 days, the week after 6 days. And if you still really enjoy it that much, okay, 1 day is fine. Again, there's certain activities I like, also occasionally playing video games. I also occasionally like watching TV shows. It's not that you should never do it again, but you make the conscious decision when you're doing it. And then number 3, once you feel like you have established a solid routine, you can really feel some progress. Remember my great painting from earlier, that before you had implemented some healthier routines, where instead of starting here, you start here. So you can feel a significant, you can still along the way, it's not that, oh, now I can stop with my healthy routines. Now I can start taking action, taking a course or attending a seminar, whatever, and start learning more about the topic that you're interested in. No, it's still along the way. You try, first of all, you try to maintain those healthy routines and maybe incorporate some new routines that help you to be even more focused, to be even more effective, and so on and so forth. And then number 4, repeat. And don't hesitate to change the content. If it doesn't bring any results, you feel like, okay, after several months, okay, now I've been reading this book, or I've attending this mentoring program or whatever it is, and I can't really feel any difference. Listen, you also need to be very honest to yourself. It's like very often it's that you fuck it up, that you don't take the action, and sometimes the content is just not so good. I have also, of course, invested in stuff that I should have saved, but we're going to make these mistakes along the way. But I definitely also invested in stuff that was actually good content, but it didn't bring me any results because I didn't put in the work. I didn't execute on that. Well, lesson learned. All right. So, but then you repeat the same cycle. But basically, bottom line, punchline of this video is like, cut out all the shit first. All the shit that is holding you back. So I hope this has helped you. It was a little longer. I mean, it's a topic that I rather make it a little longer to make my point clear. I know I'm not the best when it comes to keeping it short, especially these topics that I find personally I could go on a 1 hour long rant. But I hope you got something out of it, and hopefully it has changed your perspective, and hopefully you will be more effective. All right. See you guys next time.